Greetings and salutations. Welcome to another episode on my channel. The NAACP on yesterday is calling for a boycott of SEC schools and also other schools in the South, Florida State being one of them. And so a lot of people have a lot to say on this topic. Anytime black folks start to come together on anything, people start flipping out, bro. And it's a funny, sick, and twisted game that we play. A lot of white folks will flip out, and it's really just them being ambivalent and just playing the game. But if these things were happening to them and being done to them, they wouldn't be boycotting anything. They'd be out in the streets killing people, and that's a fact, bro. So this is a Fox video from disgusting, revolting Fox News, sickening NCAA ripped over over radical sport boycott. So let's see what Fox and Friends have to say. Friends, as in white friends. Like they could put Fox and white friends up there, and nobody would ever. It would be meaningless, bro.
All right, there is also this. The NAACP is calling for black student athletes and fans.
This chick probably couldn't spell football, yet she can get in front of Fox camera. And it's funny how Fox tries to get the most attractive females they can get to put in front of that camera so that they don't lose their entire viewership. It's just amazing to me.
To boycott Southern College
If you look,
sports programs amid redistricting backlash. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and
I love it when my laptop doesn't do what I'm telling it to do. So if you look, you can see um, Georgia, Florida, FSU. It's going to be funny. Like, it's going to be funny if all these kids withdraw. All of these black athletes withdraw from these schools. Is going to be funny. That won't make a difference at Mississippi State because they're used to losing hella games every year anyway. Uh, Now, Dabo Sweeney is very outspoken, so I'm sure he'll have something to say along the order of get over here, Sambo, and let me crack this whip on your back and do what you're told. So I already know what he's going to say. He's going to pop his mouth off. He's going to make things even worse for him than they already are. And already they want to fire him and get out from underneath that $100 million contract they gave him. Soon as they gave him that contract, he started just losing games like crazy. South Carolina is used to losing. So it will make a difference. It might even be an improvement if they had an all-white football squad. It would be funny to see what happened to Texas because Texas is a racist state run by a wheelchair Nazi. And that's a fact, bro. Tennessee, it'll be interesting to see what happened to them, but they deserve it. They deserve whatever happens to that football team. It's the worst fans in sports. And they let the city of Memphis crumble to dust. They let those kids up there keep shooting and killing each other. They don't do anything about it. And now the city wants to secede from the state and hold your horses on that one. That they don't want. These white folks want your money, and you can keep killing each other all day long. That's how you know. The more money, the merrier. The more killings, the merrier. That's how they roll. LSU. It's going to be funny if Lane Kiffin. I mean, it'll be hilarious if Lane Kiffin looks up and his black athletes have withdrawn from school. It will be hilarious because in Lane's mind, he's going to figure he'll never win a national championship ever. And Al Davis has come out of the grave to strike once again. FSU, the way their last couple of seasons went, kids withdrawn will probably be an improvement. Florida, they can forget about ever winning again. Galen Battle is not coming through that tunnel, not anytime soon.
NAACP CEO Derek Johnson urging the boycott during a press conference. Listen.
We decided to take this course of action because we see this course of action.
So the one thing I will say is that this move comes about 10 years too late. They should have been doing this 10 years ago for a lot of different reasons. But I don't want people, this needs to be about, and to me, the NAACP has a packaging issue with the out of bounds program and the platform that goes with it. And the reason why is it needs to be about more than just gerrymandering and redistricting and we didn't get our way, and the Supreme Court decision, and it needs to be about more than that. It needs to be about more than that. Because if you relegate it and limit it to just what's happening politically, a lot of kids don't understand that anyway. A lot of these young kids don't understand that. A lot of them kids playing ball are 18, 19, 20 years old. Them kids are too young to understand. These kids are used to not anything politically getting done in their communities. They're used to it. You're asking them now to all of a sudden start acting as if they understand the deep-seated roots of how far we've come from segregation, how far we've come from Jim Crow, how far we've come from, which technically we really haven't come that far, because look at the discussions that we're still having. But you're gonna have a lot of confused kids. I still support what they're trying to do, but this should have happened 10 years ago, bro. Our HBCUs should be getting our best black athletes, and these white schools should be getting our second and third best black athletes. The only reason why a black athlete that can go to a HBCU wouldn't have the opportunity will be because it's not enough HBCUs. But as it stands, if you're a half decent black athlete, you can go to any HBCU you want to. And technically it should be the other way around. But this thing is I built a platform 10 years ago trying to encourage black athletes stop going to these white schools. These white schools are run by groups of not just one or two white men, groups of white males who it's the good old boy network. They are more than happy to drive you into massive student loan debt. And they're up there banging co-eds like it's no tomorrow. They never had it so good. A lot of black kids go to these institutions and don't learn a thing. And they love to get the one with the master's degree or the one with the PhD and shove them in your face and say, look, see, here's one that did something. No, I'm all right. Most of these black kids go to these big white schools. They take on huge student loans. They don't graduate, and they end up with a huge student loan debt, which goes directly into the pockets of white faculty and staff, especially those at the upper level. I would love nothing more than to watch these people suffer. But To me, the NAACP needs to package the out of bounds program as more than just redistricting and gerrymandering, and because we need to get our way politically. It needs to be packaged as more than that. Because the time is long past for our kids to start going to different schools. These schools, a lot of these white schools, they allowed Turning Point USA to come in there. They was allowing Charlie Kirk to come in there before he got his neck popped. They allowed Charlie Kirk, Milo Yiannopoulos, who is a known white supremacist. They allow white supremacists and white supremacy to come on campus, set up shop, have meetings, and have presentations and give lectures. They invite white supremacist speakers to come on these campuses. White supremacy is nothing more than them telling you it's okay to exterminate people that's different than you. That's all that amounts to. It's not okay for me to come on campus and talk about exterminating white faculty and staff and white leadership on campuses. So how is it okay for them to come on campus on our nickel, on our tax dollars, on our student loan money, and talk? And that's what they're talking about. That's all white supremacy is. How many people different than them, darker than them, that they can gas up and put some lime on and have a mass burial. And they invite these people on these campuses. Nobody does anything. You get a couple people might lift a finger in protest. Again, I would love nothing more than to watch these university leadership at these white campuses suffer unspeakable horrors.
Be successful in the past.
In the absence of fairness as it relates to black political representation.
This guy here thinks he's going to be president. And to me, he's coy and corny. But what's cracking me up is, I've said it before, I say it again. Most of the people complaining about gerrymandering and redistricting, I hardly see any black folks standing up. And it's like, and I really don't, I disagree with Roland Martin on a lot of things, but it's like, well, Roland Martin, Bernie Sanders. And I was a Bernie Sanders supporter. But where's Bernie Sanders? And look, I'm an independent voter. I don't vote Republican, but I sure ain't going to vote for no Democrat. But you still pay attention to what's going on because it still affects you. But it's almost all black folks out there, if I'm not mistaken. That's all I see is black folks out there. There might be one white person littered out there somewhere, but all I see is black folks standing. But white silence is complicity, is culpability. And I see a lot of silent white Democrats as if none of this affects them. And it's funny because when they go to the ballot box, 20% of your electorate is cut out of the equation. You ain't never going to win like that.
There should be no athletic participation as it relates to institutions that are housed in states that are experiencing a dramatic return to racially oppressive Jim Crow-like tactics.
Joining me now is the CEO of the Brewer Group, Jack Brewer. And Jack, this is, of course, all over the Supreme Court's recent decision that bars states from using race as a predominant.
First off, this floozy chick, boy, is just, she ain't never watched football. She couldn't explain football. She's just some floozy chick, bro. And who is Jack Brewer of the Brewer Group? These people know nothing of which they speak. Yet here we are, bro.
Factor when it comes to redistricting. So what do you think about this? Should Southern schools be worried?
Not at all. I think this is ridiculous. I mean, you see them pandering to race, and you're putting into these young black boys' minds.
Here we go. I tell you, Fox has a list of coons. They got a list of coons that they can go out. We got a problem. What coon we gonna call in today? This old boy got a whole flag, American flag behind his head. Coons. Coons. And our biggest problem, like we as black folks, we are harder on ourselves than white people will ever be on us. And that's a fact, bro. And this coon sitting up here is the reason why. Tell this boy put on a hoodie and walk through a white neighborhood and watch him get gunned down, put into a police car, and drug off somewhere. Coons. And this is the real reason why we don't get nowhere. You don't see that with Asians. You don't see that with Muslims. You see it with Latinos, though. As many of them that voted for Trump, 37% of Latino voters voted for Donald Trump. Ah! That's hilarious to me. You see it with them, though. But when you look at Asians and when you look at Muslims, they stick together, bro. They stick together. Like you just don't see a Muslim speaking against other Muslims. You don't see an Asian speaking against other Asians. They might not wake up the next morning. That's the way things are. That's the way things should be. But not with black folks. We are a loosely scattered band of just lost in the sauce, bro. A gaggle. That's what we are, bro. A gaggle. And we can't come together. And they make sure that we don't never come together on nothing. It's always going to be a coon like this running, hurrying up. Probably had that suit on at 4 a.m. running, and hurry up so he can run in front of a camera and say, "No, no, you black folks sit down and shut up."
That they're victims, and that's what's happening with Akeem Jeffries and his whole band of, I don't know, I call it foolishness.
You know, I don't want to speak against a Democrat. I'm gonna speak against all of them, but I'm not gonna single out one Hakeem Jeffries and make it about that, especially on nasty, disgusting, racist Fox. I'm not gonna do that, bro. You know, we need to take more pages out of how Muslims move, how they move, because they move together as one, bro. They move together as one. They don't get in all this. One of them got something to say in front of Fox and against the you know, you just don't see one Muslim speaking against other Muslims on Fox. You ain't gonna see that. But they can always go and get one of us to just blah blah blah, bro.
But it's just ridiculous to be talking about this. These are the issues that the NCAA is thinking about right now, heading into a football season. I mean, the NAACP, they profit off of this. They profit off of division. They profit off of a victimhood mentality that they're pushing to these kids, but they're not.
This dude hated his skin color. This dude hated his skin color. You can hear it in his voice. He look in the mirror and he hates himself. He hates God, and then he looking more and got the whole American flag draped behind his head. And let me tell you something. What the red, white, and blue means. The red is for the blood the black man shed over this land. The white is when black purity was taken from us. And the blue is the courage that black folks have to show every day they roll out of bed. That's what them colors mean.
I'm talking about the actual communities that are being represented. All these communities, the majority of them are these districts or poor.
Look, I don't agree with the NC or the NAACP on a lot of things, and especially the fact that they still calling people colored. You know, if a white man called me colored, I'm probably gonna have something to say to him. But they can call us coloreds all day long. That's weird to me. But this is the one time we can all come together on something. And our black athletes do not need to be making all these hundreds of millions into the billions of dollars for these white universities. And most of them kids don't graduate. See, they don't talk about that, bro. I'm talking about the fact that these kids are running up and down the sidelines getting concussions, breaking their legs and knees for these white folks. And most of them kids don't graduate, bro. You know, if them kids don't make it to the NFL, they throwing them kids away. It's the least talked about news story. HBCUs should be getting those kids. Those kids should not be playing for states, Louisiana, these racist states. And look, really, all these states are racist, really. But but the states in the South, they make a point of it. They make a point of it. And HBCUs should have our kids. They should be getting the bulk of the cream of the crop of our black athletes. There's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. But here we are, bro. Here we are. It's a coon every second running to get in front of a camera, bro. See, now we're pretending like if these kids withdraw from these SEC schools and the other schools that they picked out, that they can't go nowhere now all of a sudden. See, they play games with you and get you to believe. If you listen to this coon long enough with this flag behind his head calling white folks massa, if you listen to him long enough, you honestly believe that these kids don't have no other choice, that if they withdraw from these programs, they can't play for another program, they can't go play football somewhere else, that it's pretty much just a wrap for them. They'll never get a chance at the NFL, that it's over for them. Like, get out of here, bro. He's exactly right. We do need to place more emphasis on inner city violence, the fact that our public schools are torn up, our communities are torn up, our communities get over policed, which he didn't bring that up, but our communities do get over policed. Um, Vast numbers of black males are incarcerated. So he's right on that point. But again, our kids do not need to keep going and making hundreds of millions of dollars for these white folks at these big white universities. You know, one does not change the other. One does not change the other. Sure, I don't agree. Again, I do not agree with the NAACP on a lot of things, but sure, they can do more in our communities. But this is the one time they're doing something that matters. And it ain't enough for these coons. It ain't enough for these coons. Nothing will ever be enough for these coons. It's the Coon Network. See, now he's using a diversionary tactic. You can tell when white folks get nervous because they'll go get a coon, and now you hear all the diversion, all the distraction. No, no, no. Let's talk about all these kids. They're not gonna fix that no time soon. No time soon. They come up with programs they know will never work to fix these problems that he's talking about. But this is one problem that we can fix. There is nothing wrong with our best kids going to HBCUs and pulling out of these states where they hate black people so much they don't even want you to vote. He's not even addressing that. He's not even addressing that. He's just attacking the NAACP. Get out of here, bro. Look at it. I mean, the boy is angry. I don't see him angry talking about white folks. He angry talking about us. Like he might as well go find Michael Jackson's doctor and bleach his freaking skin white. And then he could feel better about himself. You know, he could dress up like Colonel Sanders and put a corn pipe in his mouth and then and have a noose hanging over his shoulder. It would be no difference than what we're seeing now. See, ignorance. It's just funny how it got a cross back there too. A black Christian nationalist is crazy work, bro. That's crazy work. Black white Christian coon nationalist. And this chick here, bro, floozy mama. I guarantee you, she goes home every evening, gets in the mirror, and bounces her stupid little head around like a bobblehead doll. Facts. I'm telling you, people love to use distraction. When they see black folks coming together, they'll start using distraction. Well, what about all y'all over there killing each other? Rudy Giuliani, when he was being challenged with his little sickly self, waiting on him to kick the bucket so they can pull another one up in his place. Anytime black folks come together, it's distraction. It's distraction. Distract, distract, distract. While y'all over there killing each other. Why y'all can't get no job? Why y'all got all this hair weave? It's distraction. This is the one time we can come together and do what's right and what's just. It's the one time. I'm telling you, I just love watching a floozy run around here with this. She's a fascist journalist. She's a racist TV personality. She ain't even that. She could not get a job nowhere else, and she'd be doing it. But she can get on Fox as long as she can read that stupid teleprompter. She can get on Fox, and she can act like she can be whatever racist she wants to be. Well, if she wasn't she's legally blind in real life, bro. if she wasn't such a stupid blonde, she would understand that nobody expects the Supreme Court to. You've packed it with racist. You've packed it with racist. Now, we expect one thing to happen: these kids to withdraw and take their talents somewhere else, to a state that values their vote and people that look like them, their vote also. God, that's exactly what I expect a stupid blonde to say. Well, they expect the Supreme Court to change their mind? That's the stupidest thing. Like, she couldn't be any more legally blonde than she is right now. Yeah, the NCAA wants division. Man, I do, again, for the third time now, I do not agree with the NAACP on a lot of things. But I don't think division's one of them. I don't think division's one of them. Look at this coon. The nation was built off of slavery. Take that stupid tie and that blazer off and walk through the hood and see you get ran down on by some white cop that ain't even from there, that don't even live out there. Ride through the black hood and get pulled over. Let some cop bait you into making a traffic mistake so he can pull you over. Get out of here, bro. Some of these coons. Ain't nothing worse than a coon in a shirt and tie. Calling people massa all day long. Uncle Tom on the porch, and he cracked the whip harder than the white man ever crack it.
How
Conservative values. Conservative values is over policing in black communities and black neighborhoods by white cops that are not from there. Them cops be living 2 hours away from the black communities that they police. What's he talking about? Conservative values. People that look like this guy now don't have a vote. If they live in a red state, they don't have a vote. So what is he talking about? Like, I love, like, I'm telling you, black conservatives are the most protected species on the planet because nobody ever takes them to task. Nobody, I'll never see this guy on, you know, BET, CBS, NBC, ABC. I'll never see him on those networks. I'll never see him on a YouTube channel by somebody that disagrees with him, taking him to task and challenging him and holding his feet to the fire on anything. He can be a coon. He could run the fox with that stupid flag behind his head. And he can preach his coonery. He can preach his coonery, and they can run back to wherever he is, bro. And on the way out the door, they tell them, okay, now you run along, boy. You run along, boy. You hear? Now you get, boy. It's a sundown town. You get on up the road now, boy. Pat them on the back, tell them to cheer up. Things will get better. The second you stop incarcerating people like crazy, stop pumping drugs into the black community, Stop tearing up people's public school systems. Stop taking jobs out of the black community. Stop building highways over the top of black communities. This is documented. With no exit so people can hop on and go get milk, eggs, and bread and go get a job somewhere. That you will see black families. See, this guy lacks the functional, whatever this Brewer group is, this guy lacks the functional skill set to even have this discussion. If you lack the functional skill set, there's a job for you at Fox. I'm surprised this freaking coon don't have that flag. He's not draped in that flag. And got that stupid cross sitting back there.
To go to certain.
I'm just trying to figure out why he's angry. He don't get pulled over. His family ain't in shambles. If he has a kid, I guarantee you his kid ain't going to no public school system where the valedictorian is a C- student in a white private school. He's not living in a neighborhood that's being over policed. Like, I'm trying to figure out why he's so angry. Where do they find these angry coons? Let me tell you why he's really angry. He's really angry because he looks in the mirror and he almost as dark as them little nasty Africans be running around. And he'll never get lighter. And he's got to run to this floozy blonde for a check. And that's really why he's angry. It's like, hey, yo, coon, tell him why you really mad, bro. Tell him why you really mad, coon.
Appreciate you joining us this morning. Have a great day. You too.
The difference between us and Asians and Muslims is that a coon like this, if this dude was Muslim, they'd catch up with him in that mosque. And he gonna get a good talking to and a good beating. They gonna catch, if it was Asian, they catch up to him in Chinatown. And he'd get a good talking to and a chop to the liver. But see, we don't do that. We don't have a country that binds us. Asians have 3 or 4 countries that bind them together. Muslims have 5, 6 countries that bring them together. They can come together under 1 or 2 religions. Asians come together under one culture. Black folks, we are the lost children. And it shows. Because a coon will come running with his suit on. Massa, let me speak. It is suggested and you are strongly encouraged. Please like, share, subscribe, and hype my video. I appreciate y'all.